I just love my running community so much. Yeah. Hello, my friends, and welcome back to Runnah, your favorite local running community. And this week, it's just you and I, me and you, whatever the correct grammar is. It's just going to be the two of us, or however many people are listening to this with you, because we are going to be doing a just explanation, me talking about my Falmouth Road Race 2025 experience. But before we get into that, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. And we have a little mini announcement because I got so many requests over the weekend when I was wearing this specific sweatshirt at the Falmouth Road Race Expo doing live Runnah episodes. There's now a Runnah sweatshirt that you can purchase for yourself. It is $35, and it's like just above the markup line where like I'm not paying people to wear the sweatshirt. So I tried to keep the pricing, looked around to keep the pricing as reasonable as possible. But if you would like to purchase a Runnah sweatshirt just like this one, you can do so in the link below in this video and podcast description. So if that's something you were looking for over the weekend, ta-da! You can also look just as fabulous as I do in your very own Runnah sweatshirt. Huzzah! But that being said, this episode is going to be me explaining my Falmouth Road Race weekend to all of you all and just kind of going on a little bit of a rant. I stood up this time because, and anyone who's watching this on the, or listening to this on the audio only side, I'm standing in my bedroom because I know I'm going to like pace around a little bit and I'm going to have like motions that I'm going to want to do. And it's going to be like a little bit dynamic because I'm probably going to be talking for a little bit. So we're going to talk about just what I did during the weekend and also my thoughts and feelings. And I think I'd like to really just start with a sentiment that I know I shared on my social media. So like maybe like one or two of you would have seen this. Also, just a side note here, I understand that this kind of episode is not for everyone. And if you want to go to the next episode where it's like an interview or like a shoe eating monster or something like that, totally get it. If anything, this is cathartic for me. This is so fully self-serving. I just want to explain things. I'm a person who loves to, as you might have guessed already, loves to like show and tell. I love to just like explain things. I'm a verbal processor. So this is what we're doing. We're verbally processing our Falmouth Road Race weekend. Juliana verbally processes her Falmouth Road Race weekend 2025. Ta-da! But I just want to start out with the kind of overarching sentiment that I came away from this weekend. And it is, I'm so thankful and grateful for the community that I'm a part of. I just felt so loved by everyone in the running community this weekend. And I just want to make sure that you guys all feel that right back because I just got so much love from all of you. Also, I will say I do have ADHD, so this might be a little bit all over the place. I'm kind of trying to be organized about it. Also, let's just get into like how we entered this weekend. So some of you might have known, but going into this weekend, I have figured out that my once a year anemia spell that seems to come upon me, I have irritable bowel disease with constipation. We've determined that my body does not absorb iron. So once a year, at least for the last like 3 or 4 years, I've had to go to the IV center, get iron infusions. I feel like I can't breathe. That's usually what signals me that my iron is low. I get my lab results. My doctor orders me the iron infusions. So the last week, I had really reached a tipping point because we had gotten the lab work. My iron was at its lowest point in recorded history since 2017, which is saying something. And I was feeling like I like couldn't breathe. I was feeling like my body was a towel being wrung for oxygen, and like I could just like feel my fingers and toes like straining to get any oxygen out to them. It was not fun. It was not fun. It's better now. It's not great, but it's better now. So we entered the weekend knowing that I was feeling like not good and like very injured because of all like my body's just not circulating any air. It's not, oxygen. It's not circulating any oxygen. So I've been getting like weird random like muscle pulls and injuries and stuff like that, which is also part of like the ankylosing spondylitis and the EDS. And it's just like, I have a dictionary's worth of like weird ass things going on with my body. That's how we entered the weekend. So Friday and Thursday, and Saturday, so Thursday, Friday, Saturday, are the Falmouth Road Race Expo. I did not go on Thursday. I had nutrition clients I was working with, like my paid job, my like kind of one of my bigger like contracting jobs that I do, and I couldn't make it to the expo on Thursday at all. So my Falmouth Road Race experience started on Friday. So Friday morning, I got up nice and early, got in a really terrible, not good run. And I mean, that's just how my runs have been going for the last like 3 or 4 weeks anyway, which again, we add up all the things and the iron deficiency anemia makes a lot of sense. But I went for a run and then immediately after the run, beelined it over to Falmouth Hospital, got my first of 2, hopefully only needing 2 iron infusions. They're not painful or anything. I just would rather like feel better. That's kind of where I'm at. But got my first iron infusion. The ladies in the iron infusion or the infusion center at Falmouth Hospital are wonderful. I've seen them for years now. They're lovely. And they know I'm a runner. And they were like all excited to talk to me about the road race. And I was excited to talk to them. And it was great. So we got our first iron infusion. I was feeling good about that. Went directly over to the expo right from there. So that was at 10. The expo opened at noon. I got to the expo around like 11:30. So I was at the FCTV, Falmouth Community TV Station booth the entire weekend, and we had set up a whole schedule with Runnah as to the guests that were coming on and just like the programming around that, which is really exciting because I just feel so lucky because I feel like I was given a platform that is not just handed out willy-nilly. I understand that I've done quite a lot with the Falmouth Community TV Station and also for them. I also am not making money working with them. I did this whole weekend completely for free. I did not get paid for anything that I did. So also take that with a grain of salt. I also did not pay for anything that I did either, except for the road race itself and my number. Like that I had to pay for. I was a legal entrant to the road race with my paid number. But I got a really wonderful opportunity, and I pitched this to them like months in advance, way long time ago, to do live episodes of Runnah at the Falmouth Road Race Expo. So for people who have not run this race before or just like don't really know the history of it that well or at all, which is probably most people, there was 11,500 runners this year who ran with the road race, and they estimated about like 9,000 spectators were going to show up. So take that into account, and that was kind of the number of people who were cycling through the expo, and that was the level of exposure I was essentially getting for free. Especially on the Friday when there wasn't any other live entertainment happening, it was a lot more just like foot traffic kind of happening, which was really great to see. So I was able to pitch myself to the Falmouth Community TV Station, FCTV, and they said yes. I think a big part of it too is they've never had anyone at their booth that's like drawn people to their booth before. And for me, it's just a wonderful platform for me to just like kind of show people I'm not just like shitting around, you know. I want to do Runnah like full time. Like I love doing this. It is a lot of fun. I do need sponsors. Thank you so much to Wellstrong and to Fast Pickle for helping. Like I love you guys so much for helping out, and like I would love to get more sponsors. But it is a process. And I also just want to show people like I'm not going anywhere. Like I think the Falmouth running community knows that I'm not going anywhere. I mean, come on, let's be real here. But just prove to other people too that like I am not shitting around. And like I mean this seriously, and I am committed to doing Runnah. And I love doing Runnah like so much. So much. So showed up to the expo, kind of got oriented to the booth that we were in. We were at the very back of the expo, which is fine. Honestly, I'd rather be there than like stuck in the middle. It was much better. It wasn't a bad spot at all. It was easy to find. You were like kind of in the crosshair of the exit in the bathroom. You were in the back, so we had the wall to work with, which honestly was better than, again, being in the middle. And I feel like we had a good spot for what we were doing. I wasn't mad about the placement. Would I have liked to be on the main stage? Yes. Am I petitioning for that next year? You bet I am. But small steps. Small steps, we take small steps. So we set up. We get ourselves all set up. I had my brand new banner that I know a bunch of you have seen. So I have this like giant like 6x4 banner that says Runnah on it. It's the same logo that you see at the beginning of all my episodes. Got that printed on Etsy for like 35 bucks. What a deal. And it's vinyl, it's waterproof, it's great. So we got that hung up, and I was like getting ready, and I had my first interview of the day at 1 p.m. And then my second interview was scheduled for 3 p.m. So Friday I had Jenna, who is a Wellstrong charity runner. And Jenna was highly recommended to me by many of my friends who use her for her body waxing services. I do not partake in that. My skin is a little bit too sensitive to the waxes. Would I like to do that for my legs? Yeah, that'd be great. It's so much easier than shaving. But my skin does not allow it. So, but my skin does allow Jenna, and I loved Jenna. Jenna is such a hoot. Unfortunately, you guys don't get to see her right now because Kurt forgot to press record on the DJI Osmo that we were using to record that. So that discussion just goes out into the universe, and we're calling it Jenna's practice because Jenna is running the New York City Marathon this year, and this is her first marathon ever. And she's charity fundraising. Oh no, she got in via the lottery. I'm sorry, and she's going to come back on Runnah after she runs the New York City Marathon. So you guys will get to meet Jenna. She's wonderful. She's such a spitfire. I love her so much. Like, I actually saw her at the start of the Falmouth Road Race, and we'll get to that too. And I love the well-strong people. I think they're wonderful. I think that they're just like, they're absolutely fabulous humans. So if you guys want more about that, we had Alicia on, we've had Matt on, we're gonna have Jenna on, and I'm just so excited to like just know a lot of those people. I think they're wonderful. So big shout out to the well-strong humans, and stay tuned for Jenna after her race on November 3rd, I believe. That's when the New York City Marathon is. So Jenna and I recorded. We had so much fun. I love Jenna. And again, we've finished, and then Kurt let me know that he didn't press record. There are pictures of Jenna and us together, so go ahead and check those out. I'll probably throw a few up on the screen here. So that went pretty well. We had like a couple of people from Wellstrong kind of popping over. We had some other people who were just passing, popping over. This whole weekend, I was also running a giveaway with Beyond the Grind, which is a local coffee, mobile coffee, kind of like a food truck, but it more looks like a camper. It's the most adorable thing ever. They debuted with us with their camper slash truck at the Cape Cod Marathon 2024 last year. And I just love this group of humans. I think they're wonderful. And they were more than willing to donate a $25 gift card for me to run a giveaway, just so I could get some more people's emails into my realm, you know, and kind of start creating an email list because you know marketing. And maybe I want to start a newsletter. I don't know. I'm trying my best, you know. Okay. So we had a giveaway going. That was great. I had my QR code out, so hopefully some people scanned that and were able to check out the other YouTube videos that were up there. And I had like a little bit of a break between when I had Jenna and then I had Herm on. So Herm Garrick is one of the top contenders in the wheelchair division. He's a world-class athlete, and I was more than excited to have him on. Shout out to Matt Manchester, who you guys have already seen on this show, who is the adaptive / wheelchair athletes coordinator. Matt connected me with both Herm and William, who we'll also talk about. So Herm was next on my docket. I was already feeling tired after Jenna. Again, I was feeling very tired all week, and like my stamina was at like really bad. Like, it's still not great. I don't drink caffeine. I've been doing like microdosing caffeine the last couple of days because I just like, yesterday I came back and I think it was we'll get to this, some kind of like heat exhaustion thing too, but I just like fell asleep, and my body was at that point operating at like a 10% battery. And it was really frustrating for me to know how I normally am in situations like that. Like, I've been to enough conventions where I've done a bunch of paneling. I've been on the mic at the Cape Cod Marathon for like 8-9 hours at a time, and I know how I am. And I just like, I think like for me internally, the biggest like hang up of this weekend I had was that like I couldn't like rally. Like, I didn't have a second wind inside of me no matter what I did. But this has been the theme for the last like 3 or 4 weeks. And it makes sense given the iron deficiency anemia. But I just like, I didn't have that like ability to just like reset and like be able to use my brain at its full capacity. Like, I was using my brain at like 10%. So like I finished with Jenna, and I was like, for me, like weirdly exhausted from that. And I just like couldn't bounce back. And so I ended up getting a little bit of coffee. I went outside for a walk and just like kind of walked around. And at that point, Kathy, our Falmouth Running Club admin / Cape Cod Marathon admin, who you guys have also met here, texted me and said that Herm was outside at the FRC, Falmouth Running Club booth outside, because we had our booth outside. And so I was like, okay, great. I'll go out, because I've been looking for him. I couldn't find him because I was walking around. And that was part of the walking around I was doing. And so I went outside. Herm was waiting there for me. What a fabulous stand-up human. I really just like, big Herm Garrick fan. Like, huge fan of Herm, love him already. I think he's great. And just met him, and he and I are very much so like kindred souls. You'll be able to see from the conversation that we had that we agreed on like a lot of kind of just like fundamental things when it comes to just like having disabilities of some format, whether it be like invisible disabilities like myself or very visible disabilities like himself, or challenges or whatever it may be, that like you can like let those things affect your life how they will, and you don't have a choice a lot of the time, but you can still get up and do things. You can still achieve big things, even if you were not dealt like the best deck of cards at the very beginning of your life or like moving forward, you know? And you guys I highly encourage you to go watch that episode. Herm talked about like how he ended up in a chair and just like the wild story around that. And then we talk about like the pricing of wheelchairs, which was wild to me. But I really found a common soul in Herm, and it was just so nice to talk to him. And like we've been chatting back and forth a little bit now too. And I'm just like, I have a friend. I made Jenna as a friend, and I was like locked in. Because when you become friends with me, like I lock you in. It's like seatbelt on, we're in the roller coaster for good. Like that seatbelt does not unlock unless you do something really terrible to me. Then we let the seatbelt thing fly out. But it was just so nice to like lock in Jenna as a friend, and then like an hour or so later lock in Herm as a friend and be like, I made friends today. And I saw other people that I knew. I had one person come up to me and she was like, you have the Cape Cod Marathon social media girl. I was like, that's me. And it was just so nice. Friday was definitely the slower day, but I really like I found a common soul in Herm, and I also just like was so excited to make friends. Like even with me operating at like 10% battery, I was just so excited to like get these opportunities. Like again, things that like I'm sure other people would like kill for, to be out in front of that many people and have that much of a platform. And also just know all the people behind the Falmouth Road Race. Like when we were talking to her, Matt came over with a bunch of the other wheelchair people and were like watching us record, which is great. We had a few other people. Like I saw Megan Faulkner in passing, who's also going to be on the show. She's the new executive director for the road race. She like waved to me a bunch of times, and like I had like all pretty much anyone who's on like the organizing committee came by and said hi to me at some point, because I'm just friends with them. I know them all, which is such a wild thing to say. Like, that's crazy. That's bananas. Wild. And I just like, I don't want to let that go like unthanked, because like I feel so thankful to be in the position that I am in. I fully understand that whether it comes to like my health or like where I am, all these things, I'm not guaranteed anything in life, but I just want people to know that I'm so thankful for them being in my life and like giving me these opportunities, and just being able to like walk through the expo and have like Scott Gelfie tell me how Brian Baker talked shit about him the other day and how they have a little rivalry going on. Or just like pass by Megan Faulkner and have her wave her down. Or have Nancy, who's the archivist for the Falmouth Road Race, the historian, like wave me down and tell me that she might have a celebrity interview for me lined up, potentially, because she knows I do my podcast, and like Philly Bowden is over here and like she's coming in, and she had a conversation with her about, nothing came of it with Philly, but Philly might contact me. You never know. She did take down my number. I probably should have given her my email because she lives in the UK, but you know, stupid mistake on my part, so she might not, but it's fine. But things like that, where it's just people walking up to me, or me like walking over to the ASICS booth and be like, hello, ASICS boys. And like Pat, who I used to work with at ASICS, is over there, and he's like, hey, Juliana. And we like chat for a little bit, and then I make friends with all the other ASICS boys. And like yesterday morning, because today is Monday, at the road race, like they were warming up, and I like passed them and I said, good morning, ASICS boys. And they all like in unison go back, hello, Juliana. And I'm like, that's right. We're going to have Pat on the show at some point too. Pat is our regional ASICS rep here. We can talk about what it's like being a shoe rep for a major shoe brand, which is a lot of fun. So, and what it was like working with me as his tech person at the Run House when I used to work there, which was fun. But yeah, so just being able to like see all these people and get everything, like just be given these opportunities, I'm so thankful for. So Friday, the expo was open until 7. I left around like 6 because I didn't want to deal with, because they have the track event at the end of at 7 on Friday. The the elite mile for the wheelchair and the able-bodied humans. And then they have the high school mile as well too. And I don't really honestly I just don't want to get stuck in the traffic, and I can watch it on YouTube, and it's like a really short event. So, and I knew I was going to be doing so many other things that weekend, and I knew how exhausted I was already, and I just went home. Luckily for me, so one of the things that's terrible about the Falmouth Road Race, and this has nothing to do with them specifically, but just the setup, is the parking is just like, it's hard to find parking just because there's so many people in that parking lot. And if you leave, you lose your parking spot. It's same for any big event, but I didn't want to have to leave. But luckily for me, my aunt and uncle, who have gotten many shout outs on here, Uncle Paul, who is the biggest fan of Runnah and probably is going to be the first one to buy a Runnah sweatshirt, unless you beat him, that they took my dog Myrtle and took her for the weekend and took care of her for the whole weekend. So Myrtle went to Myrtle Beach, which is what we call when she goes to their house. So they had her for the entire weekend, which was great. And like from a stuff that I was doing standpoint and also like a health standpoint, it was just nice to come home and not have to dealing with anyone else or taking care of anyone else, because my body was already my child. And I like had to do like all this physical therapy stuff, which I'm still doing, which I'm going to do after I'm done recording this episode too. But it's just, I was very thankful to not have to take care of a dog at the same time of taking care of my weird ass body, and which I love my body very much, but sometimes it gets really weird and annoying, but that's okay. It's fine. But do all of that and then also just be turned on when I'm already running at 10% battery. So it was very nice to have that, to just be able to come home. I kind of like drew the line. I was like, I'm done. I'm going home, and packed up my stuff for the day, left some of the stuff at the expo. Friday was a good day to like get everything warmed up, because Friday was like not that busy. And then Saturday I got there around like 9:45. Because I had spoken with Nancy, who had been like, yeah, I'm going to talk to Philly about it, and like maybe she'll want to do something with you. I'm like, okay, cool, I'll just be here anyway. And so I did, and I got to talk to her. It didn't turn into anything, but that's okay. Nancy's heart was in the right place, and I really appreciate that, Nancy. So thank you so much. But I was there for that, and then I was setting up because I had my first interview at 11, because the expo was open 10 to 3, or is open 10 to 3 on Saturdays. And my first interview of the day was going to be the one and the only incomparable Brian Baker, who I've been friends with now for like at least 3 or 4 years, give or take. He and I run together periodically. He lives up in New York but has a house down here in Falmouth. And many of you probably know him because he is kind of like the pseudo mayor of Falmouth and Falmouth Road Race's most positive advocate for and their race, generally speaking. Brian Baker will convince anyone to run the Falmouth Road Race. And he is kind of what I call the mini mayor of Falmouth, especially for this weekend. And we've had the conversation that at some point he's going to have to turn the mantle over to me, because it will become me at some point. He's also run the Falmouth Road Race as of now, as of recording, 47 consecutive times. So, and he just loves the Falmouth Road Race, and I really love talking to Brian, and he and I are two people who don't know how to shut the fuck up. So it worked out really well. We're also good friends, so that was great. And so I was getting everything ready. It was really busy. Like, I was already getting kind of drained by how busy it was. And then Brian and I talked, and I was like, I had a fabulous time. And like, Brian is great. Go back and watch that episode. He actually, a ton of people came over because they know Brian. Again, he is like the mini mayor of Falmouth, and they're also friends with me. And like, they came over and watched us, which was so nice that people were like coming over to watch us, which was so kind. There weren't as many people on Friday, like in the expo or watching us, and Saturday there's just more people in the expo and also watching us. I also got word, because I was concentrating on the conversation I was having with the person that was happening during the interview, because we were recording these and you can see them. They're on the YouTube channel as well, and also the Spotify and wherever you partake in podcasts. But it definitely like was nice to have people come by. And I was talking to Kurt afterwards, who was our man who was manning the booth with me, answering FCTV questions and being our tech bro for the day. He told me that there were people who he told him that they had specifically come to watch the recordings at these times because they knew that they were going to be happening, and they were just they came to watch me. That's so nice. And yeah, so it was really wonderful to talk to Brian. Brian is an amazing human being. again, 47 consecutive Falmouths in a row. Go watch his interview. I think you're going to love Brian. So re-recorded, and then my next interview was going to be at 1 with William, who I had actually met on Friday. So William was there. William was probably in his like 70s, I would estimate. He's a little bit on the more retired side of things when it comes to being like in the competitive side of wheelchair athletes, and he is a wheelchair athlete, but he's run so many major races and like was very prolific in his day, and is one of those people who has just been a big part of the history of wheelchair running and like actively part of it and like part of it as it was happening. And he's a really interesting guy and person with like the kindest smile you're ever going to meet in your entire life. And he's just such a sweet human being. I got to meet him and his partner on Friday. They were hanging out at the history booth with Paul Clarisi, who you guys have all met as well too. He's been on the show twice. So they were hanging out at the fun little like history booth that they had going on because they had it centered around the 50th running of the wheelchair division, which was so wonderful. And I was so excited to talk to William, and we had talked a little bit beforehand, and so I was feeling really tired. I ended up going to get a little bit of coffee again too, because I was just like, I can't, there's no way I can like hold a conversation again, like, and be animated and be turned on and just be also be overstimulated. If you listen back to the live episodes, you will hear the level of overstimulation that is happening and how much I had to concentrate on what the other person was saying and not get distracted by everything around me. Like I was thinking about wearing my Loops earbuds, but then I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to hear the person next to me. We'll test that out for next time. If I hadn't been interviewing anyone, I would have popped my Loops in, which are the like sound blocking, like partially sound blocking headphone earplugs that are for people with neurodivergent like tendencies or who identify as neurodivergent, generally speaking, or have sound sensitivities that I freaking love and I wear every time I go to the airport, and like, oh my God, it saves my brain. But normally when I'm in settings like that, I don't have to do that. But because I was operating it again at like 10% battery, it was getting really overwhelming. So like I'm very proud of myself for how well I conducted those interviews. But went and got some coffee, like went outside for like 10 minutes. And during that time, actually, I ran into Maddie, who is our friend who used to race in the pink wheelchair, but now has a green loaner wheelchair that she's doing because she's still growing. But I had interviewed her earlier in the week because FCTV had wanted to do a focus on the wheelchair division. If you want to watch that, I can link that down below too. But they asked me to do like a little kind of like in-between talk thing, being like, and now we're doing blah, 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 because I'm being produced at FCTV. And well, I ended home, but definitely because of them, I was at the Expo. So they asked me to do a little featurette on the wheelchair division. I had already interviewed Matt, so we used some of that footage. They were like, who else can we interview, Julianne? I was like, well, Maddie would be great because she is like super unique. And so we were able to get a hold of her. I did a video interview with her that can be seen on the FCTV YouTube channel, which is a lot of fun, the Falmouth in Focus episode for the Falmouth Road Race week, which is so exciting. But I got to meet Maddie in person when I went outside, and she and her dad were like just the kindest human beings ever. And her dad was like, thanks for featuring Maddie, blah, blah, blah. And they're actually both from Auburn, which is where I grew up, which is funny. So it was so nice to meet both of them and one of the other wheelchair athletes who was out there practicing with Maddie, whose name is escaping me, and I'm so sorry. But that was such a wonderful like little like happenstance thing. Like they just happened to be outside. This weekend was a lot of that, of like this person just happened to be here, that person just happened to be there. So it was just really, really wonderful. And like even like with how I was feeling, I feel like I was able to soak up like 90% of the good vibes. It would have been better if I was in better health to get that extra 10%, but you know, beggars can't be choosers. It's fine. I was operating at a level that was good enough. Good enough. My hips were bothering me, my energy level was bothering me, but like everything else, and my knees were bothering me, my feet were bothering me, but everything else was like largely okay. And so we give it a 90% absorption rate compared to where it could be. So that's not bad. So after meeting Maddie, I was able to go and find William, and William was waiting for me, and we sat down and we had just like William is so cute. I love him so much. And just had the cutest conversation, and his partner was there watching the entire time, which was so nice. And she took some pictures of us, which was so cute. And then we had a bunch of people from the adaptive division come over and talk to us. well, no, sorry, not talk to us, I apologize, watch us. And Matt came back over again and like waved and was watching us for a little bit recording. I think Matt was just excited to get all this featuring of his athletes, which I fully understand now. And like after I texted him afterwards, I was like, I think I only want to have wheelchair athletes and like adaptive athletes on my podcast now, because I just like, I love the adaptive athletes so much. And like this just re-cemented that in. And I feel so honored to have been able to interview Herm and also William and also Craig, who we'll get to in a minute. But they were just the kindest human beings in the entire world. And please, please go back and watch Herm's interview and also William's interview. I think you're going to love both of them. I think they're both amazing human beings. So William and I did our interview. It went off without a hitch. It was great. And afterwards, he and his partner handed me this little teeny tiny Lego minifigure wheelchair athlete. And I almost started, I did tear up. I started crying a little bit because that was so sweet. And I was already so moved by William, who is going to come back and run the 2026 Cape Cod Marathon. So if you're going to be there, you'll get to meet William there. Hopefully we'll have some other, if you are a wheelchair or adaptive athlete or a duo team and you would like to come run the Cape Cod Marathon, this is a reminder to you, if you made it this far into the episode, you do get free entry into the marathon or any distance you'd like to run. So we would love to have you. I would absolutely love to build out the field. I do understand that our race is the same weekend as the Chicago Marathon, so people who are like super competitive, like would obviously choose the prize purse of Chicago over the non-prize purse as of right now of the Cape Cod Marathon. We're working on it. But we would absolutely love to have more adaptive athletes show up at our race. So come and see William in 2026, and hopefully there'll be some other athletes there too, which would be really awesome. I was trying to convince Herm, but Herm was like, I have something this year. I was like, well, what about next year? So maybe I'll get Herm for 2026 too. You never know. Or maybe Maddie. That could be fun. But definitely, they made me cry. They made me cry. It was so sweet of them to give me, I feel like I was being given a part of their history and their world, and just like being welcomed into another side of running that I didn't really know much about, but absolutely fucking love. And I think it's wonderful. And I think we should all be bigger fans of the wheelchair and the adaptive athletes. And I really hope that they got more cheers, because at least one other person saw one of their interviews that I put up on Saturday night, or saw them being interviewed at the Expo and were like, hey, I'm going to follow these people, because that would just make my day. So if you are watching this and you were one of those people who was like, yeah, I cheered for the athletes because I saw them somewhere doing something at the Expo or on Runnah or at the booth, let me know. That'd be awesome. Send me a DM or comment down below. But William and I wrapped up. They successfully made me cry. And I was just like holding my little wheelchair athlete. I ended up running to the bathroom. I came back from the bathroom and Kurt's like, hey, this guy is looking for you. I was like, oh, okay, sure, why not? And so there's another gentleman who comes up in a wheelchair, and he's like looking at me, and I'm like, hi, who are you? And he's like, I'm Craig. I was like, okay. Craig Blanchett. I was like, uh-huh. And granted, I'm terrible with names. Unless you have like, I know you, or you have like a really distinct name like Cher or like Madonna or something like that, I don't know who you are based off of your name. I know faces, and I did not know this man's face. So I was like, okay, that's great. He's like, yeah, I was just talking to William, and he said you were doing interviews, and like I would like to be interviewed. I was like, oh yeah, sure, let's do it. Like I didn't really care who this guy was. Like I was gonna interview him because I liked his audacity. So turns out he's won the Falmouth Road Race many times. He's gone to the Olympics and won medals many times. This is a very accomplished gentleman. He's very strong. He's a good dude. I could also tell he was a little bit of a hard ass. And I will say I successfully broke him a little bit, because I started joking with him, and like you can see even in the episode, that bonus that we recorded, like he kind of like warmed up to me as we went, which I think was great, because I could tell he has the ability to just like keep it like all business. And I was like, no, we are silly human beings here. We do not do that. So we had such a great time. It was, for me, I was like, oh my gosh, this guy who's like, he was there doing press and like holding the finish line tape this year for the 50th. And he was part of the Falmouth Road Race sanctioned like wheelchair panel that they did earlier in the day. So this guy's like hot stuff, you know? And just the fact that he came over and asked me to interview him, I was like, oh my God. Oh my God. I felt so honored. I felt so honored. I was like, ah. So sat down with him. Kurt got us set up real quick. We recorded the interview. I broke him down a little bit. We had a fun time. And you can go watch that interview up on the YouTube channel or on Spotify or your podcasting platform of choice. So go ahead and check out Craig's interview. Craig's an accomplished guy, and he's also a fun dude. So we had a nice time. I'm glad that I got to interview him. That was like such a just like a serendipitous thing for me, just being like, oh yeah, like someone asked me, someone who is like very accomplished in their sport, who is a world-class Olympian, Falmouth Road Race winning athlete, look for me to interview them because because William had said what a fun time he had talking to me. And like, I feel so honored. And it sounds like Craig had a nice time. I emailed him the interview. I haven't heard back yet, so we'll see what he says. But I feel so honored, and I feel just like so lucky to be able to have that happen to me, where people who are like, I think are big time and hot shit athletes are coming up to me and being like, I would like to be interviewed by you, Julie. And I'm like, ah, that's so nice. So we had a lot of those moments on Saturday between like the wheelchair athlete Lego, Craig coming up and seeking me out to get interviewed. And then I had a lovely girl who I know is from Falmouth, and I've seen her. I've sold shoes to her when I was working at the Run House. But she came up to the booth and she told me that not only has she been listening to my little like pep talk episodes that I'm done, like both last fall and this spring, and there's going to be another fall one coming up shortly before I leave for Berlin. I'll leave you guys with the fall racing pep talk because I've learned that those are just for me. Like, I do them out of my own selfishness. I do them so that way people know that they are supported and something that they can listen to and they believe in themselves on race morning or the day before or whenever they need it. But I also do it for me. I end up listening to them before I run my major race. So it's a way for me to like convey to like future Juliana that like we got this, you know, and have just at least someone in my corner. If someone else wants to send me pep talks, that's fine. That's not my main running squeeze, Benjamin of Benjamin fame, who will be back on the podcast very shortly. We're recording this coming Friday about his 50/100 miler / like I think it ended up being like 62-ish miler experience, but his attempt at the 100-mile distance. And we're going to be talking about that. So stay tuned for more Benjamin soon. And he's not a pep talk kind of guy. Ben's signature thing is you get the Ben's more calm confidence is what I've coined it as. So we get that. And then my best friend Jeff also will do little pep talks, but I'm the pep talk person and I understand that. And so like I want to make sure other people like hear what they need to hear and I hear what I need to hear. So this lovely girl came up to me and she's like, I've been using your pep talks for any like major thing that I've been doing. I'm like, that's so wonderful. And she's like, and I've started saying chuck it in the fuck it bucket. I said, yes, yes, I've broken someone. She's like, sometimes it's true. You just got to chuck it in the fuck it bucket. And Kurt was like, what? I was like, chuck it in the fuck it bucket. He's like, what? I was like, chuck it in the fuck it bucket, Kurt. Come on, my dude. We'll have to have Kurt on the podcast at some point. You guys have to meet the people behind the scenes at FCTV at some point so you can put a face with a name. But, because I feel like they've gotten mentioned enough times, like in passing. But it was just like, what an unreal moment for me to have someone come up to me and be like, I listened to your podcast out of my own free will. And I started saying one of the weird things that you say to yourself, Juliana. Like, what is this world that I live in? I don't know. I don't know what's going on anymore, friends. But I'm so thankful for it. Yeah. So that was pretty much the end of the day on Saturday. We wrapped up that day around like 3. I left there around like 3:30. My deal with Kurt was that because he had fucked up recording Jenna's interview, that I didn't have to do any cleanup work. And so I did not clean anything up except for my own stuff that I took home with me, which was just like my banner and my backpack. So then I proceeded to like say goodbye to a bunch of people at the expo. We said goodbye to the ASICS boys. We said goodbye to some of the other people, and then went home and pretty much went to bed because I was running the Falmouth Road Race. And so the last like 3 or 4 years, I've been training for a fall marathon, right? Right. And my favorite thing to do is to do like somewhere between 10 and 15 miles and then end my long run with the last 7 of the Falmouth Road Race. So we start the long run at my house and we land before we hit the 7 mile point, like before needing to top off the 7 miles at the Falmouth Road Race start, because I do live like at a place where I could walk or run to the starting line. It's not like right down the street, but it's like, it's doable. But I can loop myself around to do like somewhere between 10 and 15 miles, like decently easily to get myself to the starting line. And you are allowed to walk or run to the starting line. So that has been my routine the last like couple of years. I realized last week that like my body was just not, it was not recovering properly, and that was not going to be a good idea. So I kind of still tested fate a little bit, and I ran like the 5 miles it is to the starting line. And I did have to revise my plans. I was not happy about that, but I could tell by all the other things that I had going on that it was not the move to try and like, I was not going to finish this race uninjured if I didn't like not run that much of a distance. So we ran like 5-ish miles to the starting line, which I felt okay. I had to stop like twice because my knees are being like kind of weird. It's just like a circulation thing. It's a lack of oxygen causing like some like tendinitis and like muscle strains and things like that. Like it's not great. So I had mentally like, it's taken me like the last 2 weeks I've had to like stop when I'm running, because otherwise I've learned that I'm going to injure myself because there's not enough oxygen flow. And so I'm like I'm actively losing control of some of the muscles in my body when I'm moving, because of the lack of oxygen flow. So we decided that if we need to take a walking break to let our muscles kind of like and reoxygenate and like take like a 20 to 30 second walking break, it's okay, Juliana. Like it's okay to walk. I don't like having to walk, but it's okay to walk. This is just a me internal struggle thing. This is not reflected on anyone else. This is just Juliana's internal struggle. But it's taken me 2 weeks to be okay with like not injuring myself and like taking a walking break. So I had to take like 2 walking breaks while I was on my 5 miles into Falmouth. And I was like, I got there and I was feeling okay. I saw my ASICS boys. I said good morning to them. I saw a bunch of the elite athletes warming up, my fast boys and girls. I saw them warming up. I saw her warming up. I yelled at him. He didn't hear me. He was wearing his helmet and everything too, so that's probably why. So I don't fault him for that. But I got to the starting line. I saw my friend Ryan there. That was nice. And then I had very smartly used the Steamship Authority bathroom before we started the race. So the Steamship Authority has their like little ticketing office, and there's a bathroom in there, and it's fully functional year round. My favorite hack for year round runners in Falmouth, because it's open year round. There's heated / air conditioned bathrooms depending on the time of year, and there's also a bubbler that's also always there and open and functioning for the most part, give or take maintenance. So that is one of my favorite things to tell people about, and they're like, oh yeah, that makes sense. I'm like, yeah, if you're just like an individual runner like running around in the winter in Falmouth, there's no really that many bathrooms. Like during the summer we have all the porta potties at all the beaches and stuff like that, but if you need a bathroom, that's open year round. That's a nice time. So I went and used that bathroom. I saw my friend Ryan. I was just like I had to walk all the way around, because usually they let you cross over the bridge, but I think because I don't know, new rules or whatever, I just usually skirt through, but people had their eyes on me, and I was like, fine, I'll walk all the way around. So I probably walked at least another like 3/4 of a mile to a mile to get all the way to the starting line. So probably an extra mile. So I'll say like probably before I got to the starting line, I had gone about like 6 miles, give or take. And I was feeling okay. I was feeling fine. I was feeling hot. Like the sun felt like really weirdly hot, and it felt like it was like really beating on me. And I was like, okay, sure, why not? And again, I had to stop to walk twice while I was running over there. And I was like, I really don't want to I've never had to stop to walk at the Falmouth Road Race. And I had to mentally get to the point where I was like, Julia, this will probably be your slowest year ever. Because my time before, my like slowest time previously, it was like 1:09 for the 7 miles, like almost on the dot. And that was the first year I ever ran it. And every other year I've run under an hour, like pretty easily. Like it hasn't been hard for me. So I was feeling like not great about that, and I was really like dealing with a lot of internal struggles mentally around that. And so thinking about the fact that I was probably going to have to walk at least once or twice during this race if I wanted to come out of it uninjured was like, a mental like battlefield that Juliana was individually going through. So got to the starting line with those thoughts in mind, and actually, like, I shoved myself through one of the barriers. I'll just do that. That's what I do every time. And ended up directly next to Jenna. Jenna was right there. I was like, oh, hey. Again, like a little bit of just like serendipitous moments. And her sponsors from Wellstrong were also there running. And one of them is actually the poster child for the Cape Cod Marathon this year, one of our major posters, because she just took such a great picture. And she's standing there in the starting line for the Falmouth Road Race, holding 2 pom-poms in her hands, and she has a party like blower in her pocket. And I'm like, you should have brought me pom-poms. Come on. What are you thinking? So got to start with them. I was feeling like, okay. The problem is with like where I'm at with like where I was at yesterday, at least. My brain and my body can operate when I'm at that low of functioning level one at a time. Normally when I'm running, like it increases the oxygen flow to my brain, like I'm more alive and like I can scream at people, I yell at people, like I have a nice time, like I can mentally engage with the crowd and everything else around me or like my music or whatever while also like running. That was not an option yesterday. Was not an option. It was either like I was talking and being mentally active or I was running and being physically active. The two could not happen together because of the low threshold we were operating at, which was really annoying for me. This is probably like, it's not my least favorite Falmouth I've ever run. Like there definitely have been worse ones, but like this one is my slowest. We'll get to that in a minute, but definitely is on the lower side of things only because of the fact that I couldn't mentally enjoy the race. So the gun goes off and I start running. I feel like okay for like the first like half a mile, and then I realize I'm like, oh no, we're gonna have to stop for walking breaks, Juliana, because my muscle, not because I'm tired, because my muscle is starting to operate, but also I can feel my brain being like wrung like a towel for oxygen, and that oxygen going out to my like limbs and stuff so I can run. And I just like, I can't, like I tried to engage with the crowd, but I didn't have the energy to do it. I tried to like engage, I couldn't do it. I tried to like sing to my music. I couldn't do it. I couldn't retain that like enthusiasm that I usually always have for running because I was operating at such a low battery level. And that's the most frustrating thing to me is like, I couldn't really enjoy the race. And there was so much to enjoy. There was so many people in the crowds and cheering and everything. And yeah, I mean, I tried to enjoy as much as I can. I feel like I did. And a lot of it, again, comes down to mental things. And I did, the hardest thing for me was like walking. The nice thing for me though is because I was running at the pace that I was running, I'm running a lot slower than I really ever run. We got to get back up to, once my body is like healed, I would like to get back to up to a little bit of form, please and thank you. But because we can't be running the race this slow for me, this slow again next year, mostly because when I run, like for me on the slower side of things, that's like the average finishing pace of the people in this race. And so I was greeted by so many people in the finish line chute and at the ballpark. There were too many people. If you run like a little bit faster or a little bit slower, you get to avoid all those crowds because you're not in like the peak curve of the bell curve, the peak of the bell curve. And so I landed directly in the peak of the bell curve this year because of the pace I was running. And I said, I finished. I was like, no, we got to either run even faster or slower because I'm not finishing at this peak of the bell curve again. This is terrible. There's too many people here. I was living my best Benjamin Zamora life and just being like, I hate people. Mostly because I couldn't really think either at the same time. So it was just like hard for me to mentally manage. But there were some nice little standout things from the course. So really warm day. Again, I think I got a little bit of heat fatigue, like heat exhaustion, because I came back and I took like a 2-hour nap afterwards. But I saw my buddy Daniel. He was working at the ice station, the brand new ice station at the Surf Drive Beach House. And I went out of my way to grab ice from him. And he was all excited and he cheered for me. Go, Juliana, you got this. I was like, yeah. And so Daniel gave me ice, which is really nice. It kind of was a block of ice, but you know, hey, whatever, was the first year they've done that. They're trying. And it was cold, which was nice. And then right after I passed Daniel at the Surf Drive Beach House, I actually ran into Lindsay, who was just on our Falmouth Road Race 101 episode. And if you listen to that, you know that she runs this race with her camera. And she was taking pictures with her camera. I was like, hi! So I got to see her. And One of the coolest moments for me from this race was when I came around the corner, like kind of off of Surf Drive going towards mile 5. I saw my buddy Russ, who's one of our older Falmouth Running Club members, and he's sitting on like the lawn of someone's lawn that's like along the course right there with Frank Shorter. They're friends. Frank Shorter lives in town. He comes to a lot of our stuff. He also is he comes and sells his book at the Falmouth, at the Cape Cod Marathon. He's met me a bunch of times there. But like, what a cool moment to like come around the corner and hear Frank Shorter yell out, "Go Juliana!" Frank Shorter knows who I am. That's fucking wild. Like, let's just take a moment here, okay? In my worst race that I've run to date for the Falmouth Road Race, came around the corner off Surf Drive to Frank Shorter yelling for me to like to go. Like, that's wild. That's crazy. That's bananas, and I love it. I love it. So I finished the race. It said 1:14 on my watch. I started early because I always forget. So I thought I was closer to that. It was like 1:09:50 or something, which is only less than a minute slower than my slowest time ever. So it's fine. Like, it's fine. I thought I was even slower than I was, but it's fine. It's just kind of frustrating. But I was happy to finish. I came away from it. I didn't feel any worse except for just exhausted. Like I said, I think I got some kind of heat, like exhaustion, because I went home and I took a nap. I was so tired. Luckily, I live like a somewhat walking distance from the finish line, so I was able to just kind of walk home very slowly, and then like my uncle still had Myrtle, but take a nap and just like kind of zonk out. So I feel very privileged in that too. I know that's not everyone else's experience. So, we say thank you for all those things. But that kind of rounds out my Falmouth Road Race weekend. We got our mug, we got our bag, all these other things. But I think my general takeaway from the weekend is that I am just so thankful for all the people who are in my life and all the experiences that I've got to have because of all of them. So I just want to say like a one big giant thank you to everyone in my life. And hopefully I'll have better health updates for you guys soon. I feel like I'm getting a little bit better. We'll see. So hopefully things will get better before Berlin, and I'll be able to run Berlin shortly. Oh, and in the spirit of what shoe do you choose to use, this is the shoe that I ran the Falmouth Road Race in this year. This is the Puma Forever Run Nitro 1. It's their stability shoe. This is a men's 8. It's flashy, it's fun, it's a stability shoe, but it's like bouncy. So I went with a pretty mundane, there's no plate or anything in here. It's just it's a dual layered foam situation with a nice Puma grip, which was very good because there's a lot of water on the Falmouth Road Race course because of all the hoses and everything. So get you some Puma grip for that Falmouth Road Race experience. But that's it. That's the end. That was my Falmouth Road Race experience, my friends. And again, thank you all so much for listening and watching and being part of this community, and just being there for me. I really appreciate every single one of you so much. And I love you all so much. And just a reminder again, if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe and join your favorite local running community here every week with me on Runnah. Yay! And also a reminder too that you can buy your own Runnah sweatshirt if you'd like one. The link is down below. Ta-da! And that's it. That's all. And I love you all very much, and I'll see you guys on the next episode of Runnah. Bye! Thank you for listening to this episode of Runnah. This podcast is edited, hosted, and produced by me, Juliana Coughlin. Brought to you in part by the Falmouth Running Club and the Falmouth Community TV station. If you'd like to connect with us, you can find us on Instagram and on TikTok at RunnahPod, and you can send us an email at runnahpod@gmail.com. And our original theme music was brought to you by the one and the only wonderful Jeffrey Hutton. And keep up the great work. I'm proud of you.